My old longtime friend Wesley Morris is here. We used to work together at Grantland. He's at the New York Times. Did not talk to him right before the Oscars, although we talked a couple months ago. We were waiting until after the Oscars, which was a very strange Oscars, and was dominated by a movie called Anora. Chalamet is not. I did like Anora. Chalamet did not win. Demi Moore did not win. I'm going to start here. And we haven't talked. We've only texted a little bit. I was so happy Mikey Madison won. I thought that was the best performance of any movie I saw, and I did not see The Brutalist yet. But I thought she was awesome. Mm-hmm. And sometimes this will happen in sports too, where they'll just decide, well, Demi Moore, she's been waiting forever. She's got to win. And that was an important movie. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, Mikey Madison should win. Now, do you agree or disagree with that? Because I feel like you might disagree.
Well, okay. I disagree with everything. I think, first of all, I just want to be clear. I have no deep visceral problem with Mikey Madison winning. I was happy for the surprise of it. Of those 5 nominees, I wasn't terribly excited about. I loved Fernanda Torres and I'm Still Here. I think that Demi Moore, we can talk about what Demi Moore is doing in The Substance that I think made her deserving of an Oscar.
Okay.
But my 2 favorite performances, or 2 of my very favorite performances from last year, their movies got no nominations. And I just was kind of like, there needs to be an asterisk next to this, next to these 5
Who
nominees.
were the 2 performances?
Nicole Kidman and Baby Girl.
Yeah, she was really good in that. I can't believe she didn't get nominated actually for that.
That is one of the greatest. I mean, this is true of Nicole Kidman in general in the last 15 years, but that performance in Baby Girl is one of the greatest feats of psychological acting I have ever seen. Wow. I don't know how I'm not an actor, and I don't know how you simulate any of the things that Nicole Kidman was asked to do. And Harris Dickman, or is it Harris Dickinson?
Dickinson, I think.
He is also great. That is one of the top. His performance is one of the top 5 performances I saw last year.
Would that have been supporting actor for you or actor?
Yes, supporting. I can live with supporting. We can talk about category fraud too.
Yeah.
Because 2 of our winners, total category fraudsters. And I think that Mikey Madison is good in that movie.
Yeah.
My problem with the performance is only that the 4 guys she is working with in this film are extraordinary. All 4 of those guys is great. All 4 of those guys are great. And Yora Borislav, I'm so out of practice with these names. I'm going to get some of them wrong. But to single him out is right because, he's got the scene at the end in the car, which is her great moment as an actor too in this movie. I like Anora. I like it. I like it more than Fine, but I don't love it.
That's how I felt.
I think that I'd be curious to hear you talk about what you love about Mikey Madison so much.
I thought it was a very strange movie year.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like a lot of stuff jumped out. And we always talk about how it's a little bit like sports where you look back years later and like, oh, what was that year? Oh, that was the year Nora won all this stuff. I just thought I didn't know her really at all other than TV stuff. And, she was
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Working actress. She was like the 11th person in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
True. That's the other thing.
I just felt like I like those movies sometimes where it's just like, oh, this person's a star. I'm watching her become a star during the movie. I thought it was a pretty out there performance. It's a crazy movie that I think has some flaws, which we talked about in the past. But I just thought it was a really memorable performance. Which, but I also felt that way about Nicole Kidman. If she had won in that category over her, I still wouldn't have agreed, but I would have understood it.
Here's what I'll say about Demi Moore. There's a shot at the beginning or toward the beginning of this film where she has left the set of her aerobics instruction show, her big hit fitness show. She's going to the bathroom, and on her walk from the studio, I believe, or maybe the executives, I don't exactly know where the hallway is going to and leading. I know it's going to the bathroom. But anyway, there are all of these photos of various versions of Elizabeth Sparkle, Demi Moore's character in The Substance, on the wall. Yeah. And they're all from different periods of this character's life. And I just felt like I was also watching like the Hall of Demi Moore. And it like all those portraits correspond, at least in my brain, they corresponded to some moment in Demi Moore's cultural life and her movie star life. And then she gets to the bathroom, and I believe there's like somebody's cleaning the women's room. So what does she have to do? She goes into the men's bathroom. That is the Demi Moore's shot or sequence maybe ever. And this movie is so dialed in its way because it's not about America. It's not about, it's like set in a kind of fictionalized Hollywood. We can talk about the kind of Europeanification and the sort of the ways in which non-American filmmakers and ideas have officially made an inexorable mark on the Academy Awards and the Academy itself. That it's just not going anywhere anytime soon. So we have to think about what the Oscars even are going forward. But anyway, this movie to me, like, and when she gets into the bathroom, you have the Dennis Quaid character in the bathroom talking about how over the hill Demi Moore is as an actress, or, you know, Elizabeth Sparkle is as an actress. And I, from that sequence forward, this movie was as much about the actor playing this part as it was about the character she's playing. And the total, I have never seen, Demi Moore is committed to a lot of parts. I mean, G.I. Jane being maybe the ultimate, striptease being an ultimate like part commitment. She's never been the strongest line reader. She's never been the most convincing when she has to hit an upper register. Like anger is not something like verbal anger, verbally expressed anger, but she can make her face twitch. Her eyes can do that, like like they're like sizzling a little bit when she's suffering. But her lower register, suck my dick. That line in G.I. Jane, I mean, she can sell those lower register rages. But this was something new for me with Demi Moore, where like her physical commitment to the part had emotional stakes.
You're bringing in your 40 plus year history with her movies, and that became part of the performance for you.
Yes. And I think that's
fair. I get it.
Yeah, but if you're,
Can I do my history?
Yeah, but can I just real quick, like if you're an Iranian voter, do you care about 40 years of Demi?
You don't. You're just doing best performance,
just
which is
right.
I went back to Demi Moore in General Hospital because I was watching General Hospital in the early 80s. That's where she broke in.
Yep.
Was with her through the Brat Pack years. It was amazing to watch her. It felt like she fizzled out and then became a big star. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think she was really underrated. Like we did Disclosure for Rewatchable. She's just great in that movie. She's just a 10 out of 10, smoking hot, incredibly confident. But I swear to God, I think the best scene of her entire career, you're going to laugh. And this is one of my takes that I'll probably take shit for, and I don't really care.
You're used to it. Go on.
When Rob Lowe breaks up with her in About Last Night, and he says he doesn't love her anymore, I honestly think that's the best acting moment of her career. The way, and apparently he ad-libbed it, and it wasn't in there, but the way she reacts to it, you could just see it go through her entire body. I think she's had some really great acting moments over the years. I was
just about to say, Bill, there's so many moments like that.
G.I. Jane's another one. Disclosures like that. I think she's good in Ghost. I think in St. Elmo's Fire, she has a couple moments where you're like, I would run through fiery hell to get this girl to like me, right? Yep. And she's a 101 where I don't even know. There's a little Kathleen Turner in there just because of her voice.
Yeah.
But she was drop dead beautiful in the 80s and then kind of transformed over the 90s. So we've been there the whole time with her. But part of what I thought was interesting about this movie, because you're right, it's a career retrospective of her. I actually feel like her career should have been better. I think she could have made
this.
I think she could have made better movie choices when she had her peak. Like you think about even like making a movie like Striptease. That was like a paycheck movie. That's like what we get mad at some actors doing.
Right, but
you
that
know?
Striptease, wait, let's go
Mortal
back to
Thoughts.
1990.
That's like, I want to work with my husband. That movie sucks. I don't like that movie.
Wait.
No, that movie sucks.
You're throwing too much at me.
I know,
Throwing too
I
much
am.
at me. Hold on, wait. Let's go back to Striptease. That movie was more than a paycheck movie. Like, it was, I believe, well, it did pay her a lot, if memory
She
serves.
became the biggest contract. That was the biggest salary anyone made in Hollywood.
But it was also at the peak of her demeanness, right? She had a great 1990s. She was a top 5 box office draw. She was in Indecent Proposal.
She's good in Indecent Proposal. I'm not arguing the success. I just wish there were a couple awesome movies in there where she was like going for an Oscar, and I don't think that was even on the radar for her.
But I don't think she had that in her is the thing. Like, think about the Scarlet Letter.
So that's where we disagree.
Right?
I think she had it in her.
What do you think happened? Because it's not like she didn't.
I don't think she had the right part. What if she was the prostitute and leaving Las Vegas instead of Elizabeth Shue?
You wouldn't.
Probably too old.
It wouldn't. No, she's too.
I mean, too old when they made that movie.
No. I think that's not it, because I bet you she and Elizabeth Shue are the same age. I think.
Yeah, you're right. They probably are.
I think that Demi Moore, and this is why she's so good in Ghost, by the way. I think that she presents as invulnerable, right? Her whole thing when she became a real major movie star where people were paying money to see movies she was in was just about her toughness, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's often the only woman in these movies. A Few Good Men, she's the woman.
Well, that's her worst part.
It's her worst part, and maybe like her worst piece of acting, because she's kind of seems secondary to everybody else's priorities in some way. Rob Reiner is a great director of actors, so I don't know what his side of the story.
Part of the problem is the mid-90s did not have a lot of great female parts. If you go back, you go back and look at the Oscars during some of those stretches. Like, could she have been Sharon Stone's part in Casino?
No.
You don't think so? Why?
I'm sure that, I can't say no. I definitely would have loved to have seen her play the part. I don't have an argument for why she couldn't have done it. Like cast her in Casino. I thought you were going to go with Basic Instinct. Which she really could have done. She would have been
too famous for it. But she could have been one of the Disclosure was basically her Basic Instinct. Could she have been Annette Bening in American Beauty?
No.
Oh, so you think she's more limited than I do? I feel like there was more there. She also got married to Bruce Willis. They became a giant celebrity couple, and they had 3 kids. So that probably hurt the output of movies she was making at some point.
This is why I want to go back to Mortal Thoughts, because it's a great combination of the thing I'm identifying about her that I like, which is the strength with these pockets of vulnerability. You don't believe, and the thing about Mortal Thoughts is it's 2 women. Glenn Headley's the other woman, because Glenn Headley used to be a thing.
Right.
And wonderful actress. The 2 of them in that movie are
she
wonderful.
Stuck with Mr. Holland even after he almost ran away with a 17-year-old. Still stayed there with him.
Yeah, did it all. And this movie, Mortal Thoughts, I think, is it Alan Rudolph directed this movie?
Yeah.
From 1991.
It's a Tubi classic. Tubi just is always trying to get me to rewatch it. I'm like, no, Tubi. No, not biting.
Bill, I fell for it.
You did? Tubi sucked you in?
I have fairly
Tubi was like
recently
just throwing the fishing rod at you.
I rewatched it. And there's more going on. It does not ultimately work because it should just go chronologically and shouldn't do all the sort of jumping around in time that it does. But Demi Moore,
we don't have to spend 10 minutes on Mortal Thoughts.
There's a struggle in here. I know. I'm just thinking through like what worked for me and what the surprise was with respect to Demi Moore. Like, there's a struggle in her, I think, as an actor, where she's trying to figure out how to modulate the shell that she sort of moves through movies with. And in a movie like Mortal Thoughts, I mean, some of what's required for that part, she's playing a woman being abused by her husband. They conspire to kill him. I think I'm getting this right.
Yeah.
They conspire to kill him, she and Glenn Headley. And then they spend the rest of the movie trying to figure out how to get away with murder.
It's like a bad Thelma and Louise.
It's, whoa. You know what's crazy is yes.
And it came around at the same time. Yeah.
And that was, the movie didn't work also because you don't believe them as New Jersey housewives or whatever.
Oh, there were accents. Bruce Willis had a crazy facial hair thing going. Right, it's like, come on, Bruce Willis. So what was your favorite Demi Moore performance before this movie? What was your number one? Because my favorites, I loved her in About Last Night, which as you know, I think is the first modern rom-com. But I thought she was great in that. I thought she was great in Disclosure. I think she's great in Ghost.
I listened to you guys talk about Disclosure.
Yeah, I know. You don't like Disclosure. I don't like
that. I don't like it. I don't think she's good. It's not a good use of Demi Moore.
I liked it. If you're just making a random movie and you're just showing up for 11 days of shooting, it's a good one.
I mean, 3 straight guys talking about Disclosure is just...
That was part of the gimmick.
I know. It just was like... I'm like, needs to be...
Ghost, she's really good, though.
Ghost, I think, is the number one.
And that movie was a monster movie.
Number one answer. Because that movie is, like, not so secretly strange, right? It's not just the supernatural parts.
Well, it taught us what happens when you go to hell. Goblins come out of the street and they pull you down. These shadow goblins, and that's it. You're fucking in hell from that point on. They have the code.
But I also love what she and Whoopi Goldberg get up to.
They have great scenes.
I love her disbelief that the thing that she's being told is happening to her.
Yeah.
I believe her as a woman named Molly, which, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I just think that movie is so much about Demi Moore's character, and the movie's about her. And she's so soft in that movie. And the moments in which she has to like put a shield over herself, they work because you understand the movie has given you enough of this, like this vulnerable, woman who just doesn't believe that this magical thing that's about to happen to her is really going to happen.
Yeah.
I just think it's strange because in 1990, who were your best actress nominees? Julia Roberts, Meryl Streep, Joanne Woodward, Kathy Bates, who won, and Angelica Houston, I want to say, for The Grifters. Yeah. I mean, it's not like she was remiss. I mean, Julia Roberts took the movie star part.
Bates
the movie
wins.
star nomination for those 5 people.
Roberts, yeah, you had the 5. That was impressive.
I don't know.
Was a loaded year. Jesus Christ.
Any one of those people could have won Best Actress.
And then the next year was loaded too. And then in the mid-90s. Nothing will top her turning on the lights in About Last Night because I think we've been in the dark long enough.
Oh, wow.
That movie has some groaner lines. You got to watch it. She's really great in it, though.
I haven't seen it in a while.
It's really, really, really an enjoyable romp. How'd you feel about the Best Actor?
Well, I mean, the winner or the nominees,
just how it played out. So here's my sports angle on Chalamet. Great career move not to win.
Oh yeah,
great career move.
He should not have won. No,
way better. Next movie, this happened to Leo too. This is. Oh, when's he going to win? You want to get into that when's he going to win zone because now it just helps you with the celebrity of being an actor.
I also don't think it's complicated, right? He's probably going to be one of the last actors to be in this position, right? Where like he'll just be nominated maybe 2 more times before he actually wins.
Yeah. This would be like he'll have to be in The Revenant. He'll have to crawl out of a dead bear.
Oh my God. Jeez,
he'll have to get the shit kicked out of him. And
I'm looking forward to Timothée Chalamet's The Revenant because he definitely has it in him. The question is like, is that script ever going to come his way?
Well, here's the thing. Can I throw this theory at you?
Okay.
I think what happened with this Oscars run and with Chalamet in general, we always, how many pods did Sean do about who's the next big star? We've done pods about who's the next big actor in Hollywood? Are we ever going to have one? Is this just
I love
moving
listening
into
to
this?
Sean talk about that stuff.
Well, is this ever going to happen again? Does the way the system, the way it's structured now, does it just make it impossible because we just throw like some DC Comics or Marvel suit on them after they become famous? I think what happened with him, SNL really helped. Going on College Game Day, the way he navigates, you could feel it in the Oscars telecast too. He was kind of in that Leo spot. They kept going to him. They kept showing him. People were mentioning him, and it just felt like it was kind of his Leo early 2000s moment, right?
This is a great point because I actually didn't even think about DiCaprio in that moment. And I thought I went past Leonardo DiCaprio and went to like Streep and Nicholson, right?
Right.
Where he was the person, they weren't even making fun of him at some points.
No.
It wasn't even Conan O'Brien joking.
It felt like he had clout.
Yes. People were like just shouting him out because they thought he was cool.
I think he has about as high of an approval rating of an actor that we've seen in a long time. I think really since Leo in the early when Leo was in that Aviator stage, and we were like, you know what, man, this guy he's handsome. Everybody likes him. He's a really good actor and he stands for the right things. He wants to work with good directors. He wants to challenge himself. Yes. I know Chalamet's SAG speech didn't go over fantastic when he was talking about how he wanted to be one of the greats, but I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm glad he said it.
I mean, as sports people, Bill, I think what we want is a little bit of honesty in terms of people's ambitions.
Yeah.
And if you think you can go all the way, he wasn't even saying I'm the greatest. He's like, I want to be one of the great actors.
It was authentic, which is all we want from athletes, celebrities, whoever. Just fucking say what you want. Be yourself.
Be yourself.
Don't try to be some manufactured, I think people are going to like this version of me and this will help me if I appear this way. Like, I don't think he's like that.
No. I think at
least not yet. Maybe he'll turn into that.
They don't talk about you that way. This is not quite fair to the person I'm about to name, but think about a show where like they would treat Kieran Culkin this way, right? I think that there's like real belief in Timothée Chalamet as more than just like an actor. I mean, he embodies something that people seem to like. Also, it's important to say that he's just really good at being himself. And I don't know what that is really, but I just enjoy when he shows up, on some, Canadian talk show, like hanging out in the record store with the talk show host. I don't know if you saw that. Like, I don't even know where I saw it, but it came to me and I was like, I love this guy. He really went along with it. And
he's the guy who was waiting outside MSG for Morris Stoudemire to sign a fucking jersey for him. Like he still has that authenticity, and I don't know, Hollywood beats that out of you sometimes.
And I hope it doesn't happen with him. Yeah, I think the difference between him and DiCaprio also, and this is also important, he seems to be fine with it. DiCaprio didn't like it. I don't know that he likes it to this day.
Well, he liked some of the accoutrements.
He liked the spoils. The spoils.
Yeah, he liked the spoils.
Right. But he doesn't like the actual, he's not in it for, Jimmy Kimmel, Conan O'Brien, kind of poking him in the ribs a little bit. Chalamet, he can roll. He's like, his skin is thick. He can handle it.
I gotta say, I think the way Leo handled his career was brilliant. No
notes.
I mean, just like he studied some of the old greats. I don't need to do a shitload of interviews. Mm-hmm. There needs to still be a little mystery about me. And he kept the mystery for better and worse, because that also allows people to, he's doing this. He's at this party. He has a pussy wrangler. Like that's an actual phrase used with Leo. But that guy's his pussy wrangler.
Keep them on their toes, right? Like, I mean, he is willing to be the brunt of some brutal jokes. I'm thinking specifically about Tina Fey and Amy Poehler going at him at the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
He's like, if the price is having two funny people like roast me for some stuff they think I did, or the community thinks I did, I'll take it. I still don't have to do an interview.
I like it. Who else? I mean, there's been De Niro for a while. Mm-hmm. He had a real mystery, and then something snapped in the 90s. And and we went the other way with it. But
what do you mean? Like, what do you think? What changed?
Well, he just started doing a ton of movies. He started going on SNL. I mean, part of De Niro, like De Niro was this mythical figure. It's like, who is this guy? What?
He relaxed, but does he seem any more known to you? Like,
no, he's actually, ironically, a terrible interview.
Yeah, I mean, he's still mysterious to me. I don't pretend to know. So wait,
because I have a couple other things I want to hit with you. So your best actor was who?
Of those 5 people.
No, give me anybody. You know somebody who didn't get nominated. Yeah. Who was the best male performance for you?
I mean, I'm just going to stick with Adrian Brody. I mean, he was the person who when I saw him in the opening shot of The Brutalist, I was just like, well, we're headed into There Will Be Blood territory in terms of what the acting is doing. I just think that this is a guy who I don't want to talk about the speech. I can't even, I don't even know what to do with the speech.
Forget it. He's annoying, whatever.
I a little bit understand where it came from, but then it took a turn and then I was like, no, you gotta anyway. But he was of those 5 guys, I'll just stay with those 5 guys. He was my favorite of the nominated performances. And he also was the best. It was the one of the best pieces of acting I saw last year, period. And I think what I loved about it was the restraint, the way there's something like there's an anchor. It's so different from the from the pianist performance, right?
Yeah.
Where that character seemed to be blowing through the narrative. And part of what was beautiful about that performance was just that he was in a silent movie, essentially. And you were watching somebody do like a Charlie Chaplin, but under the worst possible circumstances for a human being. And he just seemed to keep surviving in an almost tragic realist way. And this movie is the opposite, where it's everything about it is internal, and how many levers can he keep down on the emotional circumstances, dealing with the Guy Pearce character, keeping his eyes open. There's a wariness and a skepticism about what this character is up against at all times.
Yeah.
There's that great scene. Oh, you haven't seen it, Bill, have you?
I haven't seen it.
All right. I'm going to tell you about this one scene. There's this scene. Felicity Jones is his wife. She eventually makes her way over to the United States. They wind up living together in this smallish apartment with her cousin, and these 3 Holocaust survivors in this little apartment. The husband and wife have not seen each other in a long time. And there is an expectation from her that they're going to do it. And this is truly, this scene between these 2 actors and between these 2 characters is like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. It is one of the most loaded sexual encounters that also is freighted by, watching it in 2024, 25, 60 years, 70 years of history. And the history that these characters have with each other, were like, they're just different people now. The Holocaust has changed them. The time they've spent apart has changed them. Her body's different. His interest in her body is different. It is. I'm not even I can't be more detailed about the scene because I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't seen it.
I wasn't going to skip it, but
that is one of the best directed, best acted scenes between 2 actors in a bed that I have ever seen. And I will say, as parenthetically, not a lot of bed scenes in Baby Girls, so they didn't have a lot of competition.
Well, that's true. A lot of hotel room carpets. And I want to talk about Hackman, and I want to talk quickly about White Lotus. So any other Oscar thoughts? Because we're going to take a break.
We can talk about Hackman. No. Can I just say one thing? We can save it for after the break. But I want to talk about like what these Oscars mean, because these are different. Something has changed. It kind of is both promising, but also not. It doesn't feel good based on the way people are talking to me about the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what people in your life and world are saying.
I mean, we could do this now.
Okay.
I just think we've been talking about the Oscars for a while. I think sometimes things morph over time culturally. You know, like when we were talking about All-Star Weekend a couple weeks ago on the podcast, I think maybe it was Van, or I can't remember. I'm sorry. I can't remember who said it, but about whether it just had a cultural expiration date. And things can just shift things can shift and change. I think about people used to care about regular season baseball, and now they just care about their own teams. Like as you get older, you just see like things sometimes run their course. And with the Oscars, you know, whether people care about who wins the way they did in 1982, I just don't know if they do. I don't, especially the younger generation. The younger generation was probably like, did Chalamet win? Would be the way they could. That like my kids, I have a 17-year-old, 19-year-old who are pretty sports culture, like in the mix at least a little bit because of me. They didn't care about the Oscars. But when we were kids, and I'm older than you, but both of our generations, like we really cared who won. And I wonder if that's just shifted now.
But it's man, you know.
But part of it is like the NBA issue, right? When they talk about face of the league, and my whole case is like, when somebody really matters, we won't have this conversation because we'll know we'll know that person mattered. Like if there's another Titanic, there's another big ass movie, or there's another big ass star with an awesome performance, people are going to care if that person or that movie wins. This year didn't have a movie like that. And it's always going to suffer when that's the case.
But I also think that those movies aren't like, they're not going to happen. And also the thing about the old way, and this is not nostalgia speaking, this is just, facts. There was a kind of randomness to what the 5 best pictures wound up being, or the 5 best picture nominees. And, there was a healthy movie-going ecosystem, or one that seemed healthy to like an average, could seem healthy to an average moviegoer, where there was a lot of movies to choose from. They weren't all trying to win Oscars, and sometimes the ones that weren't trying wound up mattering
stumbled into it.
A lot of people.
But we were making less movies. There was no confusion between, is this something I watch at home on my TV or do I go to the theater to see it? We had way less TV competition with the high-end stuff. We had all the best actors were just doing movies. And now it's like you might see a really great actor just do a TV show instead. So it just feels like it's splintered in a whole bunch of different ways. I still care. I still care about the history and how current stuff relates to it, but I think I'm like an anomaly.
I was going to say, we don't count. I don't think.
Yeah, we don't count.
I think that, but I'm telling you, you're mentioning your kids. I'm talking to people your kids' age, and I'm talking to people older than we are.
In their, yeah.
Who are also like, I'm out. I can't. Y'all got me to see Conclave and then pull that shit at the end. I'm out. Like y'all trying to rope-a-dope me into having feelings I don't want to be having. Now, as a Conclave person, I will tell you that dismount is pretty ingenious. I love
Conclave supporter. Okay.
You don't like it?
I thought the twist was stupid.
Oh, I loved it.
I didn't think the movie needed it. I was more interested in
who did you want to win? Who did you want to be Pope?
I just like being in the world as they tried to figure it out and undermine each other. Like it was just a classic old school movie. I didn't feel like it needed a twist.
I think that like what we're going to call a twist was really ingenious because I think the movie earns it.
I've heard this case. I just personally didn't work for me.
All right, but that's not my point. My point is I talked to so many people of so many different age ranges, like age demographics, right? Generationally, everybody's out. Like nobody feels like the movies are for them. And I don't know what to do with that because it's not Sean Baker's fault. It's not the substance's fault. Do you think Nickel Boys was out here trying to win a bunch of Oscars? No. This is the story that Ramel Ross wanted to tell about, like, based on, like, quote, based on Colson Whitehead's novel. Like, there was so much risk taken in by these movies, these Best Picture nominees this year. They were doing strange, unusual, weird things. And I'm saying this as a person who saw Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water, which won Best Picture, a woman about a woman in love with a fish. Like, you know, strange things happen to Best Picture nominees or in Best Picture nominees. But this was the first year where I can understand what it is the public wants. And what the public wants is movies that not only have they seen, but they want to have like a wealth of movies if they're going to be going to the movies, like to a physical movie theater.
Yeah.
They want to go look at famous people. They want movie stars. Like Deadpool and Wolverine are movie stars.
Yeah.
Like this iteration, this Anthony Mackie Captain America to people who aren't invested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like he's important, and we all know like what this iteration of Captain America is and does if you read the comic, et cetera, et cetera. But like, is Anthony Mackie a draw for people? I mean, the movie seems like it's doing okay, but my larger point is, this is just me saying once again to you, Bill, that the IP is still, I think people are now tired of the IP even, right?
Well,
like
the
IP's worn out its welcome.
We did Rocky for the rewatchables that went up last night, and Rocky won Best Picture.
Wait, you guys have never done Rocky?
We did 3 and 4. Rocky is now a prequel for Rocky 3. That was part of my case for not doing it. So Rocky 3 is the best movie of the 80s.
I agree.
But
I mean, sort of.
Rocky wins. All the President's Men, Network, and Taxi Driver don't win. And then you go to the Best Actor, and it's just, you're just looking at it like, oh my God. And granted, it was almost 50 years ago, but you're like, oh my God, look at the movies we were making.
Bill, go back to 2014.
Right. Yeah.
Was that the year that Gravity and was that the year of Dallas Buyers Club, Gravity, American Hustle?
Yeah,
Her,
12 Years a Slave,
12
American
Years
Hustle,
a Slave,
Captain Phillips, Dallas Buyers Club, Gravity,
Woo!
Her, Nebraska, The Wolf of Wall Street.
That deck was so stacked that Tom Hanks, giving one of the best performances he's ever given in Captain Phillips, did not get a Best Actor nomination.
Right. Let's take a quick break. I want to talk about Hackman. Okay, Gene Hackman died earlier this week, and he was old. It wasn't like a big surprise. Hopefully the details of how he died
I've heard some things.
Aren't too awful, but I have a feeling they might not be great. But, you know, he was somebody that had this awesome career forever and then just walked away and we never kind of saw him again. He almost did the Johnny Carson, going to Malibu and I'm out. That's it. I'm done. There's nobody really like him that I can think of. It's like he's a true 101. And, you know, even like in the rewatchables, we've done, I think we did like 8 Hackman movies, something like that, and you would never think like he would be one of the more rewatchable actors, but he just over and over again would pop into stuff. And what was interesting watching as his career evolved was how the other actors would talk about what it was like to kind of be in a movie with him. And it was like almost like you're going against him. And I was trying to think of like how many actors are discussed that way, where it's like, I'm with Hackman, got to raise my game today. I got to raise my game this week. And like he reached that part of it too. There was just nobody like him, but you could go way back, like Downhill Racer, which I think Fantasy and I are going to do in rewatchables at some point. Ooh. It's an awesome movie. And it's probably the first great modern sports movie, even though it's not totally modern, but he's even great in that. And that was, 1969? So
yeah. There
wasn't a career quite like this. Will we ever have another Gene Hackman?
No, because, I mean, here's, you know me well enough to know that my taste in men is eclectic, but I'm just going to say for the average person, they're not looking at Gene Hackman and going, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
You're tapping into horny hacks already?
Yeah.
That horny side? Yeah, we talk about that in the rewatchable sometimes. He gets a little randy in some movies.
He is, but I think there's something about his kind of average lookingness
Yeah.
Like, you know, he did not wear a toupee. He did not hide his loss of his hair. He always just seemed like he was perpetually 45 years old.
Yeah.
He came to us 45 years old, and like when he left, he maybe seemed 60. I don't know.
It's like 58 years old.
Yeah, he just seemed permanently middle-aged, which is a thing that just will never happen now. But
the other piece with that was it somehow allowed him to play all of these different parts.
Yes.
That he could be a basketball coach. He could be in a buddy cop movie. He could be the bad guy in a buddy cop movie. He could be somebody that's, you know, running a submarine. He could be somebody who's the president. He could be somebody trying to
agent.
He could be somebody trying to break into the White House.
Civil rights movement. Like,
yeah, he could be somebody who's like trying to figure out the heist and he's in charge of the heist. Or he could be the person who is like working on the heist. I think he could be the sports movie coach. Like he could do literally anything.
Anything. I think that also that kind of does speak in some weird way to what America is. And I know this sounds like cheesy and corny and cheap, but like if you are coming to this country for the first time and one of the many things that tells you that you're in the United States of America, it's probably Gene Hackman, right? This is a person who, in all of the jobs that he could be doing, seems credible in them. He's not conventionally good looking. Like the idea that he and Warren Beatty are supposed to be brothers in Bonnie and Clyde is just one of the most laughable things I've ever seen. Like, yeah, adopted brothers. I don't know. It's comical. There is something also like unpredictable about him. And it isn't so much that, you know, I think about him in The French Connection, right? If you diagram you've diagrammed that sentence psychologically, this is like a terrible human being. He's a racist cop in New York City, shaking down people in bars just for kicks, basically.
Him and Jack Cates in 48 Hours are my favorite cop characters that are also completely indefensible.
Yeah, but you know, Popeye Doyle never had an Eddie Murphy to come and give one of the great rebuttals to the racism.
Yeah.
In the movies, right?
Yeah.
Or like to anybody's racism in the movies. Popeye Doyle stands as a singular character because he's never brought in to heal. Nobody ever like wags their finger in his face in a way that means anything, because ultimately he's looking for what, you know, a moviegoer will recognize as a kind of narrative justice. Like he's trying to solve this mystery. And the command, the like easy, like kind of sexy command that he has in those shakedown scenes, you know, it's just a great, dirty, filthy character and the character works because he's got swag, you know?
Right.
And he could turn that on and he could turn it off, but you really...
No Way Out was like that. That was another one where he's just kind of sleazy, right?
Yeah,
but sleazy, powerful, and you could just kind of see it. The other thing with him that I thought was cool, you could just throw him in other great parts and he makes sense. Like you could put him in The Godfather. He's just be Tom Hagen. You're going to be Tom Hagen instead of Duvall. And it's like, yeah, Hackman would have been fine.
This is
could have pulled it off.
Can I tell you how many years I thought that Tom Hagen was played by Gene Hackman?
Right.
I sometimes have to remind myself that Robert Duvall is not Gene Hackman in that movie.
Right. Could he have Nicholson's, you know, all-time incredible in Chinatown, but could the movie have survived if it was Gene Hackman in Chinatown? Like, probably.
It still would have worked.
Would have been fine.
Worked. Terms of Endearment works with Gene Hackman.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's why I think he's so unique, because it's almost like a basketball player that could play like a bunch of different positions and guard a different bunch of it. And it's just like, oh, when we have this guy, we basically can do anything we want.
But you know what he cannot do? And never really tried. He never did crazy. Well, he did do comedy, and he was pretty. The Birdcage, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
How about, are you a Heartbreakers person? Sigourney Weaver and Jennifer Love Hewitt. Horny Hacks is out in full bloom.
This is, I mean, I'm already out as like, you know, I've outed myself as being like into Gene Hackman, but
yeah,
it does not take much. But no, his Lex Luthor
That's how I got to know him, by the way. That was my first Gene Hackman
That was my
movie.
first Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
My first Gene Hackman was
this guy.
Lex
Who's
Luthor
this guy?
in the 78 Superman. And listen, he's sexy. He is sexy in that movie. And there's like, I don't know what he knew, but he definitely seemed to understand that Lex Luthor thought he was sexy. And that was good enough for him.
Right. Like, could he have done Liam Neeson in Taken? I think he could have.
Yeah, but but this is I was going to say, speaking of which, he never did Crazy. Crazy is the thing he never did. He never played.
So he never did like Tommy Lee Jones in Blown Away just as a crazy Irish terrorist blowing up shit.
Go back to like one of his primes. Like he couldn't have played Travis Bickle.
No.
You also wouldn't have believed him as Woodward, right? You wouldn't have believed him as Bob Woodward.
No, because I would never think he would not be in control when I see Gene Hackman. Yeah.
Exactly. He would have flown off the handle way before it was time.
Right.
And there are just some things, like, this is an interesting distinction that we're trying to make here, which is that I'm saying he's never played crazy, right? He's never played a crazy person, like a psychopath. You know, you can say what you want about Little Bill and Unforgiven, but that guy was just, evil's not the same thing as crazy.
No, you're right. I totally get what you mean. But well, the other part is he didn't bring Gene Hackman, the famous celebrity person, into the role, that kind of baggage that some other, like I would see Dustin Hoffman or Nicholson. And you're always thinking it's Nicholson. You're always thinking it's Dustin Hoffman.
This is a good distinction
Hackman
too.
could kind of blend into the different parts. And where it's like, oh, I love Gene Hackman. But then you'd kind of, like Enemy of the State's a good example. He's Gene Hackman, but you're watching, he just kind of blends in and out. Now all of a sudden he's this weird guy. I don't know what he's up to. And is he going to help Will Smith or not? And you kind of just forget he's Gene Hackman. Think
about all the people he's mentored too, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
everybody talks about it after, like, whoa, that was like, I went to grad school when I did acting with Gene Hackman.
But what is it? But what is that though, right?
Well, I think it's like, professionalism. Just going onto the set, knowing exactly who you are, like real confidence, a little bit of a charisma. You're not going to back down to anybody. I think he had some size to him too, which I think is unusual for Hollywood. You know,
6'1"?
Yeah, I think he was. You know, he was.
He definitely seemed substantial, right?
Yeah,
like there was I mean, this is part of the thing that I've got for Gene Hackman is he just seemed meaty. Like there was often some meat on those bones. Like he seemed big boned is really what it was. Like not fit at all, but not interested in fitness, not vain. There's no vanity, right? He just, whoever he's playing, it's just there to do the work. Because often these are working people. All these guys have jobs. And even the guy that he plays in the birdcage, the senator, the kind of like bigoted senator who kind of like never changes, but keeps going along with the program. And part of the comedy of the movie is you fully expect him to like give himself over by like showing up in, you know, coming out of the some crazy plot twist or something. But instead he's just like, man, this is the world. It's very Billy Wilder of him, that the approach he takes in the birdcage. Mike Nichols directed it, so it's not like it's not a crazy thing to have a smart performance like stay in a lane because the director knows the payoff will be there at the end. But there's just
your crazy point is good because I wouldn't have wanted to see Gene Hackman in The Shining.
He couldn't have done it.
I just wouldn't have bought it. I just don't think it works. But
he doesn't burn slow like that. He's eruptive.
What's interesting is like he could play the president. He could have played the president's conniving chief of staff.
Yes.
He basically could have played every part in the White House. Could have played the vice president who doesn't like the president. He could have played the guy, the military general who works for the president. Like, just go through anybody that is involved with the president, and he could probably have played every part. Whereas, like, when Nicholson's the president, you're kind of like, it's Jack Nicholson. Like, even when Jack Nicholson is in broadcast news, and he's good.
Yes.
But you could argue Hackman might have been better in that part, right?
You know what's interesting?
Because he still feels like Jack Nicholson in broadcast news. I'm not buying him as like a network anchor.
The thing, well, he would have been the president of the network, right?
Or whatever he was.
No. I mean, Nicholson was the anchor, but what I'm saying is
Yeah.
Hackman, you would have more believed him as the president. He couldn't
Or
have
like
been
the
William
Robert
Hurt.
Prosky part. Like he was
Yes.
like working with Holly Hunter.
Yes.
Yeah, he could have been that guy.
He would not have made sense as he wouldn't have made sense as William Hurt or Albert Brooks. But you know, that same era of Hackman, he has a cameo appearance in Postcards from the Edge. Do you remember this scene?
Oh yeah.
He's the director of the movie Meryl Streep is fucking up in. And the Meryl Streep character, this is based on the Carrie Fisher memoir. She's playing this drug addicted actress who bottoms out, and she goes through rehab, and her redemption essentially is going back into the post-production studio to do voiceovers. And Gene Hackman's her director.
Yeah.
And the thing that we're talking about with this mentorship, I think a version of what it looks like is this director telling this Meryl Streep character to get her life together. And, you know, giving her this, I mean, it's not another chance. The movie still needs to be looped. And she's there to do her voiceovers. And it's just this wonderful sequence where you learn something about the movies. I didn't know what that process was until Postcards from the Edge, another Mike Nichols movie. But he's so warm and firm and clear about what it is that he needs, but he's also got a sense of humor. And he's not, I don't know who this character is. He's Gene Hackman.
Right.
Whatever that means.
One-on-one.
But fatherly and in a really like touching way.
Well, the other thing, you know, and obviously we've done almost 375 rewatchables movies at this point. Part of what becomes somebody's legacy is the rewatchability of some of the movies they made. And he just had such a great instinct for this great. And then sometimes like he thought Hoosiers was going to be a bomb. That ends up being the biggest basketball movie anyone's ever made, right? And lives on forever and ever. He was pissed the whole time he was making it. He was like, nobody's going to see this shit.
No Best Actor nomination for him in that movie, by the way.
Yeah, I think it was because it took him so long to realize just turn the ball to Jimmy Chitwood. Clear out. Clear out. Don't overthink this. Stop running plays. We don't need 4 passes anymore. We have a generational star on our team.
Royal Tenenbaums. I would say the last great Hackman performance
was close to the end. It was one of the last ones anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the thing that you love about, that's the one performance I think anybody's given in a Wes Anderson movie where it felt like Wes Anderson was just giving the enterprise over to this actor. I don't know anything about anything with that movie. I just know how I feel watching it versus watching him in it versus watching anybody else in any other Wes Anderson movie. That's the one where I felt like Gene Hackman just overrode the vision. And you know, a lot of people think that that's their favorite Wes Anderson movie. I think in part because Gene Hackman is the one person who's one of the rare people to act in a Wes Anderson movie who feels differently alive from the sort of dioramic project of the film. And he frequently exists on the streets of that city, right? He does not exist. He's not in the houses that much. Or he doesn't live in my memory as being an indoor cat. He's an outdoor cat in that movie. And like anything outside, Wes Anderson just seems to have less control over. Right. He's such a soundstage, interior design oriented person. And something about Gene Hackman out in those streets, it's just classic. It's very on brand for Hackman and very disorienting for Wes Anderson. And the Tenenbaums is greater for it because there's a tension there that exists between his energy and the movie at large, his energy.
One great thing about him, he's just in movies with most of the great stars from like 3 different generations of movies.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think Denzel might be. I would be interested to see what the list is.
Yeah.
But we always talk about 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's like 1 degree of Gene Hackman. You could just go through, name a star. He's worked with like Redford. Like it doesn't matter. You go 50 years or 45 years, however long he was.
Can I ask a
And he's going to
question?
be in a movie. Like, it'll be like Travolta was paying homage to him. And it was like, Hackman made so many movies. What was it? Get Shorty was his Travolta movie? Yeah. But you go through and you'd be like, just shout an actor out. Did they work with Gene Hackman? And they probably did. Shout an actress out. They probably did.
Sally Field? Am I missing a very obvious one? Because like the two of them seem like it just should have worked.
He did a movie with Barbara Streisand.
Oh, that underrated, by the way.
All night long.
All night long.
Go through
underrated.
A bunch of them.
But he and Sally Field seem like they would have had a really good connection.
He did a movie with Richard Gere, Julie Christie, Kate Capshaw, and Denzel Washington, and J.T. Walsh. Can you name the movie?
Can you name those names again?
Richard Gere, Julie Christie, Kate Capshaw, and Denzel Washington as Arnold Billings.
What's the year?
It was Lumet Power.
Ooh, that's right.
Tubi, throw that shit on the main screen.
That's like 1981, isn't it?
No, it's high. It's later. It's 86.
86. Okay.
It was right when Hollywood was like, "Hey, Richard Gere, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Why are we making all these? Why are all these bombing? Are you not a movie star anymore?"
I mean, I know we're not talking about Richard Gere here, but like, it's funny because to compare Richard Gere to Gene Hackman is interesting, right? Like, why does it work for Hackman and not for Richard Gere?
Well, this raises the second. Well, Richard Gere's too handsome. That's part of the problem. But we've talked about Richard Gere when he taps into an Internal Affairs and Officer and a Gentleman. That's Richard Gere.
Yes. Yes.
Hackman as the guy in Pretty Woman would have been really interesting.
That's the one that they wouldn't make, right?
That's the one they wouldn't make, but that's the more realistic
one that they originally wanted to make.
That's the more realistic one, where he's like an older, dirty fucking guy.
What was that original title? Was it called 2000 or 4000? Whatever her fee would have been. I think that's what the original title was.
Then they tried Whore on the Street. That didn't work. They just kept trying titles. Just kept going for stuff.
I mean, I feel like there was some Hackman money left on the table if he never did a movie with Sally Field, because that's a no-brainer to me. Murphy's Law instead of Murphy's Romance, sorry, is the Sally Field James Garner movie that got James Garner his only Oscar nomination. Right. I feel like Gene Hackman
that could have been a good Hackman. Yeah, he's making so many movies. Anyway, Gene Hackman, first ballot Hall of Famer. Give me your 1 minute review of White Lotus through 3 episodes. Are you caught up?
Here's my 1 minute 3. I don't know how many words it's going to be. Here's my review of White Lotus season 3. I'm watching The Pit.
You're watching The Pit.
I'm watching The Pit.
ER is back.
I'm not
2025
watching
ER.
White Lotus. White Lotus had its chance with me, Bill. This show doesn't know what it's about. I'm watching The Pit.
Wow, you're into The Pit that much?
Oh, I'm in The Pit.
You're in The Pit. Wiley, you never gave up your stock.
Are you kidding? Did I ever own stock? I was like, I should have bought stock.
No, you had some stock.
I mean, the vesting happening here is extraordinary. Are you watching this show, Bill?
I'm not. Should I be watching?
Please,
people keep telling me to watch it.
Let me tell you.
It's like ER crossed with 24.
Y'all can keep your White Lotus. You can have it. Eat it up. I don't want it. I don't want any more. I had my fill. Y'all don't know how to feed me. The Pit. This show. And it's crazy that like the most excited I've gotten talking to you is about this show and not about
anything else.
I do. If we were talking about Baby Girl or Hard Truths, which has the other great performance from last year by Marianne Jean-Baptiste, I'd be psyched to talk about that. But we're talking about The Pit. And it's such a strange viewing experience if you ever watched ER. And I actually would love to know how people feel who haven't watched ER ever to watch it for the first time, because within like 5 minutes, you are someplace you've already been, even though you don't know where you actually are. Everything about it is familiar. This show is made by John Wells, who is responsible in part for ER. And the structure is basically 1 hour, like every episode is 1 hour in this staff, this medical
24
staff
across with ER.
Basically, yes.
That's it.
Exactly. You said it. It went over my head because I was enthusing about you watching the show, but you were 100% correct. Formally, that's the show. I don't know how anything that happens on this show actually happens. What are the retakes like?
You know what?
How many takes do they need
Say
to do?
no more. I'm going to watch.
Okay.
You don't need to sell me anymore.
Okay.
This is I'm in.
Characters.
I'm going to watch it.
Noah Wyle giving the TV performance. Nobody's going to do better than Noah Wyle on this show.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Nobody doing better
I never
than
gave
Noah
up
Wyle
on him.
the show. I mean, you didn't? Because I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him since 2001.
He's been doing some good stuff. He was on that what was that movie with the train, the crazy train? I thought he was on that movie that turned into a TV show, Snowpiercer. Was he on Snowpiercer train? I think he might have been.
TNT Snowpiercer or the Bong Joon-ho Snowpiercer?
No, he's in the TV version, I think.
I don't
Maybe. I don't know. You're right.
You say so.
I'm glad he's back.
You know, he was on TV. He might have been that show, actually. You're right. I remember seeing him and being like, well, I'm glad the checks are still coming in.
It's great.
This is more than I'm glad the checks are still coming in. This is an extraordinary, everybody on this show, even if the acting isn't good, you have to be present in a really interesting way, like a way that feels new to me for television. And it is just
The Pit.
It's thrilling. It's really gross and suspenseful, and I love it.
Anything to plug?
Personally?
Yeah.
I'm working on a podcast. I turned in my book, you'll be happy to know.
I don't believe it. Is there video evidence of it?
I mean, there's still a lot of work to do, but we're going to make it really good. I think it's going to work.
I can't wait to read it.
But yeah, I'm working on a show, a podcast. It's going to be me talking to people.
I can't wait to invite myself on it.
Well, I mean, I would have invited you had you not already just invited yourself.
Yeah.
You know you're invited.
All right. Wesley Morris, great to see you as always.
Nice to see you too.